Writing Workshop with Cool Cat Court. Do you like roller coasters? I do, and so does my son Ethan. Let me tell you a story about the first time my son rode a roller coaster that looped upside down. I woke up and got out of bed. Then I went down to the kitchen. I poured myself a bowl of cereal. Then I told my family it's time to get in the car. We put a lot of water bottles in the car. Then we began driving toward the freeway. We drove and drove. We passed some stores. Sorry. That's really boring, isn't it? The climax of my story is when we went upside down on the loop of the roller coaster, and I'm still a long way from that moment. To create an exciting, engaging story, writers need to focus on a small moment. That means I need to begin my story close in space and time to the climax. I'm going to show you how to plan a story like that. Here's your learning objective. Writers use the climax to plan a small moment story. A small moment story stays focused on the climax by beginning the story close in place and time to the climax, and then building from that beginning up to the climax. So, if the climax of my story is that moment Ethan went upside down on the roller coaster, I need to ask myself, what is a place close in space to that moment? I want to begin my story nearby the roller coaster. And what is a moment close in time to the climax? I want to begin my story not too long before we go upside down on the roller coaster. So I could begin my story walking on the way to the roller coaster, or in line waiting for the roller coaster, or as we get on the roller coaster. These beginnings are close in space and time to the climax of my story, so that I can write an exciting, engaging story that grabs my reader's interest and builds to a climax. In other words, a small moment story. I think I'll choose this one. Now, I'll sketch it on my story planner. Let's try one together. Here is my story about finding a lost pet. Here is the climax of my story. We are in the front yard in the afternoon when a dog rushes up and puts its paws on Abby's shoulders. Where and when could I begin my story so that it will be a small moment story? What did you come up with? Here are some of my ideas. We could be working in the front yard shortly before the dog arrives. Or we could be getting out of the car in the driveway shortly before the dog arrives. Or we could be walking out of the house into the front yard shortly before the dog arrives. I think I'll choose this one. Now, I'll sketch it on my story planner. What did you come up with? Did you think of a small moment beginning for my story? Remember, writers use the climax to plan a small moment story. Now it's your turn. Look at the climax on your story planner. Ask yourself, where and when could I begin my story so that it will be a small moment story. Make sure you start your story in a place and time close to the climax of your story. When you choose an idea, sketch it on your story planner. See you next lesson, and remember, stay cool.